Right here. Thank you. It always happens on a Wednesday. I am swimming in the ocean with a guest, and it might be rough seas, it might be strong current, it might just be that we are on a very, very long swim and we are far from the boat, and I can feel it coming. There's a purge coming. And what I've learned is that in a week of swimming that begins on a Sunday, it's usually Wednesday when we approach this emotional tipping point. And my favorite example of this was a few years ago. We were guiding a few guests on a week of open water swimming in Kona, Hawaii. And we had a woman on the trip, and her name was Jenny. And Jenny came up to me the first day of the trip to tell me that she had been in an open water swimming race. And in spite of the fact that she had trained in this body of water, the day of the race, she jumped in and she was totally overwhelmed with the idea that she couldn't do it. And she panicked so badly that she actually had to be pulled from the race. So she comes on the trip and she tells me this story, and she says, I have got to face this demon. I have to face my fears, and I want a shot of redemption, and help me. So the first couple of days, we take it easy, and Jenny is easing into things and doing some nice short swims, and she's doing okay. And then by Wednesday morning, we are going to take on the swim leg of the Ironman course in Kona, Hawaii. It's a 2.4-mile swim. It's 1.2 miles out, and then there's a buoy, and you turn around and come back. So we all get in the water, and we're swimming. And most of the group kind of pulls off ahead of us, and I'm hanging with Jenny, and we're going from marker buoy to marker buoy, and I can tell that she is struggling. Her strokes are kind of short and choppy, and she's having trouble catching her breath, and she's looking around wildly. And I stopped her, and I said, Jenny, tell me what's going on. Tell me what you're feeling. I want to know what's going on. And she kept looking back at the start. And she said to me very clearly, I just feel like I am swimming away from where I want to be. And if I keep swimming in this direction, I will not have the energy to get back to where I want to be. And I can relate to this because I spent a portion of my life doing something very similar. The very first thing I ever said I wanted to be was a deep sea diver. And I was 6 years old and watching Jacques Cousteau and spending all my time in the ocean and in the pool and water. And I want to be a deep sea diver. And then I was 9 years old, and I found myself one morning in a doctor's office with what had become a chronic ear infection. And the doctor took one look in my tiny little ear canal and said to me very nonchalantly, well, you're never going to be a deep sea diver. And I was crushed in that, that silent way that a child is crushed when you push a button that you don't know exists. But I'm also very stubborn. So I sort of went on to the rest of my youth and joined the swim team and spent all of my youth in the ocean and in the pool and swimming. And I swam in college, and I majored in marine biology. I spent a semester my junior year scuba diving and doing coral reef research. And that was where I decided that I needed to figure out a way to spend the rest of my life underwater. And shortly after that, I found an underwater camera, and my brain exploded. And setting the bar high for myself, as I often do, I decided that I wanted to be an underwater photographer for National Geographic. So that was my decision. That's what I was going to do. So I set out on this journey with no map, and I really worked hard at it, and I sort of plugged away at it for a number of years, and through a careful course of methodical steps, I actually got myself into the offices of National Geographic magazine. And I showed them some work that I had been working on here in Maine. I was doing work with freshwater eels, and it had never been done before, and they were interested. They were interested in it, and they sent me home with a provisional contract to continue this work. So, of course, I was very, very excited. And I came home, and I set about trying to complete this story, which was a total upstream endeavor. Freshwater eels are brown fish that live in fast, rushing, cold, brown rivers. They are nocturnal. They only move at night. So all of the work I was doing was at night. And I worked really, really, really hard at this. And I really hated almost every minute of it. Almost every minute of it. And I think my low point came one night. I was upstate, and I was lying face down in a shallow little creek, facing upstream, and it's like midnight, and these adult eels are flying down the river at me, just trying to get by me. And I'm lying there, and it's midnight, and I'm taking pictures, and the water's rushing around me. And all of a sudden I feel something, and I realize that the eels are actually getting stuck in my hair. Right? So I'm lying there, and it's dark, and the eels in my hair, and suddenly I am so overwhelmed at the absurdity of this situation that I rise up from this tiny little creek bed, and I am howling into the night, and eels are spinning and spinning in my hair. And I look over there, and there are 4 burly fishermen with flashlights on me, and they are paralyzed by the sight of me. So I'm driving home that night, and I'm picking the slime from my hair. And I am so deeply, deeply miserable from doing this work. And at the same time, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I am not going to walk away from this, because I am so in love with the idea of where this is going to get me. And I am so certain that that is where I want to be. And I don't have the guts to choose happiness. I am not going to walk away from this. And I'm driving, and I actually say out loud to myself, I am going to have to die to get out of this. I said that. And I put my order in, apparently. A few months later, I became pregnant with my son. I worked all through my first trimester. And then a few months after that, I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And what I can tell you is that first night in the hospital, in spite of the shock and awe that comes with a diagnosis like that, I actually felt relief. I felt relief. I had gotten a doctor's note to get out of this work that I did not have the guts to walk away from. And when you get a cancer diagnosis and you feel relief, you have definitely not been living right. So it was very tough. It was awful. I gave birth to my son prematurely, though healthy. And I almost died twice, once from the cancer and once from the cure. And 2 years later, I found myself with a toddler and a very tentative grasp on life, and a broken body and a badly broken spirit. And I had been stripped of all notions of who I was, or what I wanted, or where I was headed, and where I was supposed to be. So as I made these baby steps back towards health, of course, I went to the water, because that's all I've ever known. Only this time when I went to the water, I didn't have any fight left. I had no agenda. I really submitted. So in my submission to the water, I remembered something that I had long forgotten, and that is that the water, and in particular the ocean, does not want to drown you. It doesn't want to pull you down. It wants to support you. It wants to lift you. It wants to carry you from here to there. And it's just that there sometimes is not where you think it's supposed to be. So in my new submission position, I tried to stay open to things as they were arising in front of me. And one day at the pool, I met a guy, and he had this company where he takes people on open water swimming vacations. And I thought, wait a minute, this is everything I love, right? This is swimming, and it's the ocean, and it's living on a boat, and I could take pictures. And I weaseled my way into this company, and now I am a swimming guide for this company and a photographer, and I guide and take pictures of people 5 times a year in tropical seas. And what I know, coming through the Wednesday of my own life, is that after a few days of immersion in this wild water environment, the water strips away from you everything that you think you know about yourself and the masks that we wear. And eventually it just pulls your truth from you. And it never goes quietly, and it never goes gently. And what I know now is that when I can feel it coming and when I see it coming, my job is to tread water and to bear witness to it. And I always feel very, very grateful when I have the opportunity to see that. So I'm on the Ironman course with Jenny in Kona, and we're going from buoy to buoy, and she's still struggling. And I finally stop her and I say, Jenny, do you want to just turn around? Do you want to go back? No, I don't want to turn back. I have to face this. I've got to get through this. And I said, okay, Jenny, I'm just going to ask you to trust yourself, trust the ocean, trust me, in that order. And she did. She put her face down, and we kept on swimming. And eventually we got to that turnaround buoy, and she put her hand on that buoy, and she was so elated because she knew that she had gotten to where she needed to be. So we hugged and celebrated and took a little picture together, and started our swim home. And we were swimming about 2 minutes, and I hear squeaks and clicks and clacks, and I look down, and really, no joke, there's actually a pod of wild dolphins swimming underneath us. And, I pick up my head, and I'm screaming, Jenny, there's dolphins, there's dolphins. And I'm not kidding. She picks up her head, and 10 feet from her, this spinner dolphin leaps up out of the water, crashes down, and showers her with this incredible spray of ocean. And honestly, more than anything, more than the swim and more than the dolphin, what I carry with me and what I remember most is the look on her face that I saw. And it was lightness and joy and disbelief and utter faith in everything. Thank you very much.